Many years ago, God raised men in different nations, men whose lives were not ordinary, men who walked in priesthood. These were not just pastors, they were spiritual generals. Today we see churches, we see programs, we see preaching, but we hardly see the power of God manifested like it was in the past. And I want to tell you, the secret is priesthood. Not sermons. Not programs. Priesthood. Take a man like Apostle Joshua Selman. He does not just preach. He prays. And in his prayers he battles in the spirit realm. Cities shake because he enters them in the spirit. He doesn't just walk into a church. He walks into a city, and the spiritual rulers of that territory know his authority. It is not gossip. It is not man's words. It is priesthood. Do you know how Abraham took dominion? Genesis 12:13. Everywhere he went, he raised an altar. Not just a prayer, an altar. Everywhere he went, kings recognized him. Pharaoh bowed, the king of Sodom bowed, Melchizedek came to meet him. And it wasn't by armies. It wasn't by negotiation. It was priesthood. That is the authority God wants to restore to men today. Even in Nigeria, men like Benson Idahosa, let me tell you, that man was not playing. He went on 7-day dry fasts. No water, no food, 7 days. Midnight after midnight, he marched the streets, taking authority over the 7 mountains of influence: government, education, religion, commerce, media, arts, and culture. And on the 7th night, the heavens opened. An angel came and handed him 7 keys of Nigeria. He said, "By your word, no man enters governance without my authorization." He even called the president of Nigeria once. He said, "Your Excellency, you have made a mistake appointing these ministers. You are only the physical president. I am the spiritual president, and if you do this again, I will bury you in the grave." And the president said, "Yes, man of God. I understand." That is the authority of priesthood. And the same authority was in the Old Testament. Samuel anointed Saul, and later God used him to remove Saul from power. Elijah, he confronted Ahab, he confronted all 850 prophets of Baal. He didn't need a church. He didn't need political backing. He had priesthood. He commanded nature, he commanded heaven, he commanded kingdoms. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 4 men in Babylon. Not pastors, not leaders of movements. Just 4 men operating priesthood. And they controlled the most idolatrous empire on earth from their bedroom. King Nebuchadnezzar saw the 4th man in the fire, and what did he do? He made a decree that everybody in Babylon must worship the God of Daniel. For men. Only 4. That is priesthood. And do you know what it takes today? A regimented life of consecration. You cannot just attend a Sunday service. You cannot just go to prayer meetings. You live in the spirit realm. You become a mobile altar. You fast, you pray, you intercede, and the atmosphere changes. Even witches and wizards know your authority. Maurice Cirillo in East Africa commanded over 7,000 witches and wizards under his territory. The moment he entered a city, the spiritual rulers ran. Not because he preached, but because he was a priest. This is what the early church did. The apostles turned the world upside down. When they were imprisoned, angels opened the doors. The government could not stop them. They legislated in the spirit. They prayed, decreed, and governments changed. That is the level God wants to bring men and women to today. And if you are sleeping every night, my sister, my brother, you are not a priest. Priests do not sleep. They pray through the night. They legislate, they silence every altar in their territory. Jacob wrestled with God all night. That is priesthood. That is territorial authority. That is why nations fail today, because men of God are sleeping while darkness reigns. And it is coming back. Ancient mantles, mantles of Moses, Elijah, Samuel, Daniel, the men who controlled empires and kingdoms through priesthood, they are being restored. God is raising a generation who will enter cities, and the enemy will flee. They will pray and governments will obey. They will fast and territorial altars will be silenced. That is the untold power of fasting and priesthood. Brethren, do not just seek church programs. Do not just seek sermons. Seek priesthood. The one who walks in priesthood does not beg for authority. He legislates from heaven. And when the World Council of Witches tried to gather in Benin City, Benson Idahosa stood up and said, "It will not happen." And it did not. That is priesthood. God is raising men and women like this again. Are you ready to stop being ordinary? Are you ready to walk in authority, to silence every altar, to command kingdoms, to legislate in the Spirit? The mantles are coming back. The power is returning. The nations will know God again by priesthood. So I ask you today, where are you walking? Are you a child of God, or are you a priest? Because a priest does not play. He legislates. He conquers. He changes nations. And it is your time.